curtain, simply curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, would have kept me from the one I had today.
WSG, I'm Utah LaVern, and yes, this is one street over. What you doing? One street over from where I live. Well, this is what our endeavor is to find out. So thank you for joining us. And this morning, a little out of pocket is Ryan Martin. And so getting you in here, people, when I ask them to come in at 7, usually go, LaVern, that's just so early. And I know you kiddos are sleeping in. The kiddos yesterday were like, Miss Vivio, are we going to get out tomorrow? I said, if anything, we might have a delay. And because, come on. I'm a farm girl. You don't stop in this kind of stuff. I never really had to deal with livestock much. We had hogs when I was a kid, when I was in high school. But I was talking to Gina Head yesterday about their cattle and what you have to do with livestock at this. Farmers don't stop, y'all. Come on. But you bundle up, you put the layers on. And I was also mentioning to you, my husband is from Norway, Michigan. Look it up. It's in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, just south of Lake Superior. And I think it was minus 14, the temperature yesterday. And the wind chill was minus 42.
Goodness gracious.
And I said, would you go to school in that? And he was like, of course. You just dress for it.
Yeah.
So dress for it and go to school. Come on. Get some things done.
Goodness.
I know. Chilly.
Yeah.
So
right.
how are you faring? Did you did it bite you this morning? Or
A little bit. I might have an extra layer on because I'll be spending a good portion of the day outdoors with a group. I used to tell Dr. Chris Causey, when he was director of schools, that on my hardest days as city manager, how I reassure myself is to know that I'm not the director of schools and I don't have that stress and pressure, regardless of how stressful some of our days are. That's a large task, and there's a lot of people that the director of schools has to have my heart is with Dr. Weeks this morning and the decisions that he has to make for a lot of people in a lot of different facets of the operations there.
And I think he made the right one. I think he absolutely made the right decision, for sure. I think we, absolutely, I don't see the need in having school be completely called off today because it's going up into the 30s. It's like I don't know, we get conditioned to stuff.
Sure.
And it's like if you ever call school off for temps, then, it's like, and tornado forecast and all of that. And everybody's like, well, there's a tornado forecast, so we can't go to school. And it's like, but if you really evaluated it and do you really know the risk of it, those kinds of things. So be nice to Dr. Weeks. He's doing better, he's really, thinking hard and about this stuff. But I think a 2-hour delay was absolutely reasonable for the kiddos. So,
and I think expectations are everything. And you're right. If you establish the expectation that and we deal with that in all facets, whether it be game cancellation for our youth sports, we try to be consistent with decision making and that sort of thing. And it's hard because every situation is different, but establishing and managing expectations is one of the toughest things that organizations have to do for the people they serve. Yeah.
I think so too. So well done, Dr. Weeks. We're in agreement with you. I just keep reminding the kids, we've already used 2 snow days. We only get 10. So if you don't want to go to school in the summer, because we're not even through January. We could have definitely some more snow all the way up through really into March.
We usually have some of our worst in February or more of that weather in February and March.
It's like Valentine's almost always. There's stuff around that time of the year. So guys, we'll probably get some more snow days. Don't worry about it. And there's liable to be some bad weather where there's like, the weather, the tornado warnings and things like that could keep us out. So you don't want to just throw those days away willy-nilly.
That's right.
So, there you go. Ryan Martin's in the house. If you are not aware of who this young man is, he is our city manager. And so they have their mayor and alderman meeting on the 3rd Tuesday, and then he comes in on the following Wednesday. And did I get that right? And
You
he's
did.
normally here at 7:30, but he has a meeting he's got to get to, and so we let him come in early today. So there you go.
And thank you very much for accommodating our change in schedule. So we appreciate, LaVern, the opportunity to, whenever, whether it's me or another member of the staff or the mayor that comes on, because it's all about, like we talk about, transparency and about informing the public. You've got a very good audience that I will run into when I'm, and I say, well, hey, I heard you say this on the show. Tell me more about that.
I love hearing that.
And so that lets us know that we're doing the right thing by getting out and sharing the message, because as I say all the time, those are the people that we work for. And so we need them to know what we're doing.
Very good. And so we're going to just jump right into it. Anytime you want to come in at 7, let me know, because that's the hardest slot to fill. Because people are they just moan when I say, well, 7 o'clock, and they're like, oh, this is so terrible and early. But anyway, so anytime you want that 7 o'clock slot, you just let me know.
Sounds good.
All right. What did y'all do last night?
Well, we had a few things. Had a kind of a light meeting. December and January are oftentimes light meetings of sort of just routine business that we have to conduct in December and January. And we did that last night. We had finished up a rezoning for a parcel that is it's near the center. It's a house that sits in the middle of kind of commercial property with church and across the street and commercial all around it, and that sort of thing. Right there, it's just across the street, basically across 4th Avenue from the center. And so that was requested by the property owner because there's a commercial activity they want to put there. It fits. And so just one of those things, not sure why it was never rezoned commercial. Right. It was residential, but that was rezoned last night to fit within its surrounding, or what was contiguous around it. We did have a budget amendment last night. We had to amend and approve because we have an issue at the golf course. So for those that don't know, that we own the Legacy Golf Course, pretend like I never said that, because we don't want to ruin its reputation. It has a phenomenal reputation, so we don't want people to know that the city owns it. But it is an asset in the community. I say that all the time because when it's city government. That course is consistently ranked in the top 10 in the state of Tennessee in public courses.
That's impressive.
It is consistently. Every ranking system that comes out generally has the Legacy up there with the likes of Montgomery Bell and Greystone and other top public courses in Tennessee. We've been as high as number 3, I think, in the state. I think that was in 2019 or 2020, but generally in the top 10. So, we want to keep it a secret that we own it. We want people to think that it's, but we do. We hire a management company that runs that course, but we've run into an issue out there, and what started to be an $80,000 issue has turned out to be about a $500,000 issue. Goodness. And the deeper you got it, for those that know golf courses, irrigation is one of the central pieces that allow the golf course to be playable, right? And so we've got a problem with a pond that's part of the irrigation system that has a leak in it, and it's causing some major issues. And the deeper you get into it, the more analysis you do, the worse it kind of got. And so it turned into a really expensive problem, which, hey, the golf course is going on 30 years old, so things are going to happen. That golf course opened 95 or 96, and so, we're going on 30 years, and I think it was built in 95 and opened in 96, or began construction in 95, if I have that correct. But yeah, so it's a tough thing. We've got some things that need to be repaired and replaced, and we've done some of that along the way, cart path and things like that. But the golf course, people ask about the golf course. Well, how much money does the city sink into the golf course? And I'll go on record right now saying that at FY24, fiscal year 24, which was the into June 30th, 2024, we're in the middle of FY25. On an operating basis, the golf course made money.
That's what I was going to say, because you charge people. So I would think that it's kind of a self-supporting thing.
Well, it hasn't always been that way. Right. The golf business has really done well since COVID. There's been a golf explosion. A lot of people took up golf during COVID when they couldn't get outside. They found something to go do outside. Okay. And then so golf as an industry has seen an increase over the last probably 4 or 5 years. But Cornerstone has done a phenomenal job managing our course where people want to come play it. We get a lot of folks that come from. It's amazing to look at the zip codes and the license plates when you go in the parking lot of people that come from all over. A lot of folks come from south of Nashville. Folks come from Kentucky to play the legs. Folks come from all over the state to play the that course. And so it has finally, I think 2 years ago was the first time on an operating basis that the golf course actually made money. Now, what do I mean by making money? Because we're not in the money-making business.
Right.
That's on an operating basis. That's based on what the revenue that it brings in and the cost it takes to operate it on a day-to-day basis. So what do we do with that? We put that money back into the golf course by repairing and replacing cart path, or purchasing a new mower that's 30 years old or 20 years old or something like that. So we reinvest that into things that need to be repaired and replaced. So try to get to a break-even point.
Right, for sure. So, but there's not enough of a surplus to absorb a $500,000 repair.
There is not.
There you go. That's
what
I figured. So
there is not. That's an unexpected expense. We had budgeted first $85,000 last year, and then we dug into it and realized, okay, that's going to be more than that because we have this issue over here. So we budgeted $250,000 this year to solve the problem, incorporated the Corps of Engineers, their help, and and a lot of different things had to go through TDEC, and it's just become a blossomed problem. Right. And there's karst geology there, and so there's a cave that it turned into kind of a mess. And so we amended the budget to add another $260,000 to really solve that. It's a core piece of the irrigation setup there, and so without that pond fixed, you almost don't have a course. So it's borderline an existential type situation. So it is expensive, but the golf course is doing well this year. So hopefully it makes up. We generate some extra rounds and makes up for some of that expense.
So because y'all have budgeted, then if the golf course can take and put some funds back in where
that's
it was
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So, well, that's cool.
So if we're over revenue at the end of the year, then we'll amend and it'll help offset some of that.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, and you mentioned some of this is just my random brain. You mentioned a cave out there. What's with a cave? I didn't know there was a cave out there.
Well, you find a lot of that. I mean, around here with just the way it's causing a leak and it's going into the cave. The pond is leaking, and that's how we found the cave, because that's where the water's going. The reason the pond won't stay. So the project is to dredge the pond to create more capacity, but also to line it. To plug the leak, but then to line it to try to prevent that from happening in the future. Like I said, the more we thought it was a simple, let's dredge this pond and create some more capacity, and then it's like, there's a leak. That won't be a big deal. And then, there's a cave, and then, and then it just got to be more and more in depth. So
I'm guessing this is just a cave that's underground.
It is.
And that nobody has access to.
No. It's something they found when they were kind of where water's slipping away. So
I'm always fascinated by caves. That's my hope is to find a cave on our hillside. There's some of the spelunkers have said there might be. So I'm like, well, find it. Yeah. I love caves. I'm fascinated by them, as long as they're ones that are safe. I know some people take great risks to get in those things, and I just think, no, don't do that. But they are fascinating, and we do have a lot of them around here. So being the Kentucky girl, Mammoth Cave and all that was always such a fascination with me. So very good. Well, so y'all got all that amended, and they're moving forward, and you're ready to go for the.
Absolutely.
When do you think the repairs will be done?
Trying to
have an estimate.
Well, we're trying to get everything done by March.
Oh, wow.
Because you don't want to interrupt play, right? I mean, it's going to interrupt play a little bit of where it is, but what you want to do is not interrupt during your peak season, right? So we don't want to be interrupting play during summer. Like right now, if they could start work, the golf course is closed today for obvious reasons, but if they could start work while it's 30 degrees outside and do that, those are not our big months, those are not big play months, obviously. And so when it's 20 and 30 degrees, so you want to get it done before it hits March and April, when it gets to be 50s and 60s, when, the demand for rounds are higher.
So, I had a question on my mind, and it just slipped me. But I don't know. We can move on. But I'm kind of fascinated by golf, and I kind of want to pick it up at some point. But how many people work out there? Do you have very many full-time employees?
Of course, we don't. We hire a management company to run it. Yeah, so that was a great,
all part of theirs.
Great decision that was made long before me. Because golf courses are unique. There's a lot of particular and specialized things that go into maintaining a golf course that is a little bit different from a baseball field or like a park facility or something like that. There's a lot of differences in knowing turf management and grass and how grass is going to react to certain things, and So there are a lot of smart folks that do that, and so we hire Cornerstone Management, Cornerstone Golf Partners to manage the golf course, and so the employees out there are their employees, and so we contract with them to run the golf course, and they do a great job of it.
Okay, very good. And I mean, that's the thing when you think about this is an irrigation pond, and you've got to irrigate out there because otherwise the grass is. I mean, that's one of the signature things of a golf course is the grass. It's got to be a certain way. And I don't play golf. I've never played golf, but I know that's a thing.
That's right.
You know, and when your lawn looks like a golf course, you're winning.
That's right.
You know, that's the big thing. But talking with Ryan Martin about the events of the mayor and alderman meeting last night, and you know, it just mentioned right now too that you can go and find the video from this online at your website. You can go if you want to watch the entirety of the meeting. You can do that.
You can, and that's a good point. So springfieldtn.gov, there should be everything that you want to know about what's going on in city business on there. You can watch our meetings, a replay. You can watch them live if you don't want to. I know it was cold last night and people didn't want to come out to the meeting, so
tune in.
You can watch them live. We promise not to take too much of your time, but we'd love for you to know what's going on. And follow us on social media. Our citizen newsletter I always push out. You can sign up for our citizen newsletter on the website. I had a gentleman call. We had an issue, LaVern, come up with the holiday schedule for garbage pickup, for sanitation pickup around Christmas. And a gentleman called and he said, you know, and these are the type of things that bother me because it lets me know we've got to do better of communicating our message. And he said, man, sir, I missed garbage pickup. And so because the Tuesday pickup was backed up to Monday because of Christmas Eve.
Right.
And so it was the following week. So he missed it. And so it was an entire extra week. And he said, is there a way that we can, that we can get that via email? And I said, well, actually there is. If you sign up through our website, you can get sanitation notifications, or if you sign up for our citizen newsletter, we put that schedule in there. And he was like, well, I didn't know you had either one of those things. So when I finished off, got off the phone with him, I told the staff, we've got to do a better job getting that message out that these things are available to inform people, because if we have them and no one knows about them, what's the point in having them, right?
You got it.
So these notifications, so I've been trying to tell a lot of folks that, hey, sign up for the citizen newsletter, sanitation schedule, all sorts of things are in there that will hopefully be helpful to you. There are ways that you can get alerts through our website on different things. Sanitation is one of those. So holiday closures, things like that. So sign up through our website. All of that is there. And if you need any help doing that, give us a call and we'll guide you through that.
Very good. And there you go. We put the message out right here. So
yeah,
be sure and tune in. What else do you have with the meeting?
So we approved a couple of engineering services agreements. Had some surplus property, like I said, routine business that we do in December and January. So not a lot of other business, some consent items for the electric department, but that was about it. So it was a fairly light meeting. Those two were the highlights. One of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about this morning or bring up was the fact that we've been in a lot of cold weather lately, and I want to give a shout out to a couple of different organizations, My Father's House and United Way. We've been working diligently with My Father's House. Mayor Poole was talking to a group last week, and he said, just for the record, the city did not shut My Father's House down. And I think, because we've gotten some questions about that. Hey, why did y'all shut My Father's House down? And I was telling somebody last week, well, we never did. They had some issues in the building the state fire marshal's office wanted them to fix. We worked with them to get the property rezoned so they could operate in that location. And so we're hoping that they'll open soon, but with that gap, we were able to partner with United Way, and I appreciate United Way and ACE, who was with us, and then United Way, we stole her from United Way, and United Way stole her back.
I was wondering how that went down.
Yeah, so, but we're still on speaking terms. We were able to work with ACE and United Way last week to partner with them to provide some temporary housing for them. A lot of people ask about the center, or not a lot, but we've had a couple of questions about the center. Well, why wouldn't we open the center as a shelter? A couple of different reasons, really, why historically we've not done that. First, the center has no backup power generation. So if you have an inclement weather event and the power goes out, we had that during the tornado. That's the reason that during the tornado we weren't able to open the center as an emergency shelter, because it had no power. There's no backup generation. So that's an issue that we're working to solve as well. We opened the center the following night as a shelter, as an emergency FEMA shelter, because power had been restored.
Right.
But on Saturday, the night of the tornado, we had no power at the center for a while, and so we weren't able to open that as a shelter. We have other activities going on in the center. It's really not equipped to be to separate the way things need to be separated, accommodate for pets, and so we're not just really equipped with the resources and the staffing to do that. We've never been in that situation, so that's why we rely on support organizations like My Father's House, who will fulfill that mission and take on that task. And we recently, My Father's House was funded as part of one of our nonprofit contributions in our budget, and we gave them a $5,000 contribution towards their operations and hopefully the building renovations this year. And so we're glad to support them and what they're doing, but in the absence of their ability to operate, and they are, I think they kind of stepped into that role and partnered with United Way moving forward on the temporary housing. But we were glad to partner with United Way and sort of help do what we could last week and during the cold weather. But
well, and it was Springfield Inn, wasn't it, where
yes,
y'all were able to
it
house
was.
some people? Mm-hmm. And so what's the situation like right now? Because with the terrible cold temperatures last night, is it still the same situation?
It is.
Okay.
My Father's House has, I think, once we kind of shared with them the idea that what our temporary solution looked like. I think what they did was they said, okay, well, maybe we can, because we were going to pick up the snow days basically, that Friday and Saturday, and I think they said, well, hey, after you do that, we'll take on the rest until we can open. I don't want to put words in their mouth, so I don't want to say that.
Do some fundraising specifically for that, because people want to help. And I mean, that's the thing. There's just people. Having worked in a church organization for about 7 years and working through benevolence, all you got to do is say, "Hey, this is what we need," and people just pour it out.
They do.
I mean, that is just the blessing of where we live. It is just absolutely wonderful, and so it's just excellent. So very good.
We appreciate those organizations and what they do. United Way, Ace is great. We hated to lose Ace, but she's doing great. She's taking on a larger role with United Way than she was in before, and so she was able to help us on a regional level last week, and we were grateful to be able to participate and help with that. And hopefully My Father's House will be open very, very soon and operate as they would like to. I know they have a program that goes along with their mission, and so we're hopeful that gets open pretty soon.
I'll reach out. Is Charlene still heading it up? Or
Steve Phillips is the chair, is who I've worked with.
Okay.
With
well,
My Father's
I'll
House.
reach out and see if I can't get some info, because I've had a lot of questions myself about it, and I just didn't really know what to tell folks. But I mean, to have an asset like that in this community is going to be wonderful.
Absolutely.
And because pretty much the mission in downtown Nashville, that's what you have. And I mean they do wonderful work. But you'll hear from a lot of folks that are living on, I don't want to go there. And it's like, well, so they've got some resources in Nashville that a lot of the smaller communities don't have. And for us to have a resource like that is just incredible. So I'm excited to see it up and running. So that's very cool. So,
I don't know how much time we have left.
You've got plenty of time. I just was checking, and we were trying to get Rose in here from the library. She's not available. We can make a phone call to somebody about a Bible study that they're doing, Katie Allen, so we may be reaching out to her via phone. But you just take your time and talk about whatever you need to, and then when you make your exit, I'll do my break, and we'll see if we can get Katie on the phone. If not, then I'll just talk about stuff going on around town.
All right.
I got to congratulate Greenbrier wrestlers, district champs, man.
Nice.
I got to congratulate my kiddos. I know a lot of those kids, and they were district champs last night. So they're in there. They had district duos last night. They've got region duos Thursday, and then what do they call? I'm trying sectional duos. Maybe I can't remember. Duels. I can't say. I was getting one of the wrestlers Logan was trying to straighten me out yesterday and get me on trying to help me understand, because it's different sport. Because you have the different matches and things. So I'm trying to understand how they're, because they're having team competition right now.
Okay.
And so that's what's going on. So they're district champs as a team. And then after they finish all the team stuff, then they'll have the individuals. So each one of the individual wrestlers will have an opportunity to compete, to position themselves to, win district, regions, and go to state. So it's interesting. So way to go, Greenbrier Bobcats. We're proud of you. So I got to throw that out there. So anyway, so what else have you got for us?
Well, another thing I wanted to hit was Vesper Village. And so there's been some, we've had a lot of conversation about Vesper Village lately with some folks. Vesper Village is the large development, and I'll call it a development for now. That's just outside this back door here. That's about 500 acres. they had their community meeting with that we require, and so it's a requirement via ordinance that the developers have a meeting with the community. It's not a city facilitated meeting. It's not a city sponsored meeting. It's just required for them to host that locally, provide notice of it, and invite the community to come and have an interactive dialogue about the development with the community. So that meeting was held last week, and I think it had a pretty good turnout. That's something that they do before they submit and apply for annexation and rezoning. Somebody asked, well, why weren't you there? Well, I would have loved to be there, but we intentionally don't go to those meetings because when we go to those meetings as a staff, then we end up getting a lot of questions about city requirements and regulations, and it takes away from the dialogue that's supposed to be taking place between the developer and the community. And so we generally don't go to those meetings because there'll be an opportunity for us to have a dialogue with the citizens and community at any time. I mean, you can call 7:30 to 4:30 every day, and we're there to have that dialogue, or at public meetings, the Planning Commission meeting and the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. So those are the venues where our dialogue with the community can take place either in the office every day or at those public meetings. So this opportunity was specifically for the developer and its conversation with the community. But I think they had a good dialogue. We talked to them last week, and they said they received a lot of good feedback. We've talked to a lot of folks, fielded a lot of questions. I think now that it's coming soon, and they haven't applied for anything yet, so we haven't seen it. That's what I've told folks. We haven't applied for annexation and rezoning yet. This is all preliminary. We've seen some concepts. We've seen what they want to do or what we think they want to do, but we haven't seen anything official yet. We hopefully will in the next couple of weeks because I think they're shooting for March to come before the Planning Commission for the first time. So we'll see. It's a large development. But that's really a mischaracterization. What I've told some folks that I've talked to in the last week or so is because the number one question that I'm getting is, how big are the houses going to be?
Yeah.
And I think I told the board last night, I said the answer is yes, right? Because it's not that. And so we tend to think of things in terms of a subdivision, right? We tend to think of things in terms of really this development, if you will, is a handful of smaller developments that are just coordinated together over a 20-year period. I think they've told us they're looking at a 20-year build out or something like that over time. It's not something that'll certainly happen overnight, but it basically unlocks an area of the city, is what a new area, because there's a commercial corridor that would connect, Highway 49 and Tom Austin Highway. Right. So the questions that have come up so far is, what about traffic? Because I think people are thinking about a subdivision with a bunch of houses, right? And there's some commercial areas, and then there's some residential areas and that sort of thing. What about Highway 49? What's going to happen there? What's going to happen on Tom Austin? What happens on South Main? A lot of great questions that I think we'll all, and I told the board last night that we'll all have an opportunity to ask to the developer and get answers. And I think they've, have a traffic study that they've been doing and that sort of thing. So it's we'll see what they submit and apply for. They've been great to work with. I think they were modifying their plan a little bit based on some of the public feedback that they received, and so we look forward to digging into that, to seeing if that's something that will work here in Springfield. The feedback from citizens has been. There have been questions about traffic, questions about things, which is the same. Those are the same questions I have. I told them in our meeting, I had a video meeting with them on Friday, and I said, hey, the number one concern I have is traffic in this area, and I told them that. I mean, I've got some concerns going into this, but the number one concern is this. It's always been my number one concern. I think some of our staff shares those concerns, and so we'll look forward to digging into that with them. But it's a large development. So I think they're proposing 2,500 or something residential units. We'll see what they actually, what the application looks like, but 2,500 residential units and 500,000 square foot of commercial development. So it'll be the largest thing that we've ever seen. It'll be interesting to see how it's engineered. The proposal is engineered to convey traffic where you don't have a congestion type issue. So we'll look forward to seeing that. The feedback has been great from citizens of Springfield. Now, outside of Springfield, we've gotten a couple calls from folks who don't live in Springfield who have expressed opposition, and we understand that too. And but from citizens inside the city, there's some reservation about traffic and what does this do, because we've never seen anything. But several people have expressed this is finally what we need, and I've tamped that a little bit by saying, well, we don't know what they're proposing yet, right? We don't know what they're proposing, so let's don't get jump on board. Let's see what they propose and what they apply for, and move forward with with caution that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's been that anticipatory thing that we've been looking at for the last 20 years, knowing it's coming because we can see what else is happening around Nashville, and we are right there, ready to take that next step. And I know who knows where we'll be, in 20 years, but growth is coming, and it's just like you said, it's how you manage it. And moving forward. And so, I mean, I find it exciting. I'm looking forward to my property values as things grow here.
Someone else shared with me too. They're looking.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, the investment that I made back in 1991 when we moved here in 92. I guess we actually purchased in 92. My property's grown in value quite a lot. I mean, you can't, and so you look down the line and you're like, wow, I mean, I know I'm getting older, but I mean, that's a pretty good retirement package for me, the land I'm sitting on. So, if you're a landowner in this area, you can't not look at the areas like Franklin and places like that and go, well, I think I'm going to sit tight with my land right. It's kind of funny. I'm going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards here in a minute, talk about the real estate business, but I mean, God's not making any more land. So if you've got land in Robeson County, that's a very good thing, very good thing. So
I think we want to make sure that it, like you said, we manage the growth responsibly. We've seen what's happened in other areas where it kind of hit them by surprise. And so we don't want the traffic issues that Murfreesboro has, right? Schools is a whole separate, that's another concern that's come up. Of course, we have, as a city, we have no, control or anything over the school system. But Mayor Vogel, I'm sure, would love to talk about about that. But, we want to manage that growth responsibly and make sure that the infrastructure is there, make sure that we don't have traffic is a concern. Now, the flip side of that, what people are excited about is, Publix has been trying to be here for 4 years, 3 or 4 years.
Talking about Publix yesterday.
And this is, and that's where they'll go, right? And they talk about a Publix, they talk about a Target, they talk about restaurants and things like that. And all these restaurants, I mean, I don't want to name drop any other restaurants that have been looking around in town for the last 6 or 7 months, but we've had a few that have made site visits that have just struggled to find a place to go, and so this unlocks that. All of the things that we've heard that people want. They want this, I want this, I wanted that, I wanted this. Well, this would unlock that potential, and that's where that would go. And so that's why someone wants to do that. I mean, if you look at why would a developer come in and want to do that, because they know that they can, put a Publix there or lease or sell or whatever to a Publix and a steakhouse and this and that. So I understand the feelings on both sides. I understand but overwhelmingly the citizens actually live in Springfield, are excited about the possibilities that are coming from the development. I think everybody is approaching it with a little bit of caution to make sure that we don't have a traffic issue. We don't want a traffic issue. We don't want to be, and I'm not picking on Murfreesboro, but folks that I know in Murfreesboro will tell you that, they have traffic issues, right? And so I think we want to be careful to manage it. I always say that it's really not easy. I mean, it's not, some people say, well, density is always a good thing, or density is always a bad thing, right? I think it's neat. I don't think it's always a good thing or always a bad thing. I think it depends on the scenario and the circumstances. If you're looking at garbage pickup, density is great, right? Because your cost per service, you're burning less time for for manpower and gas or diesel to pick up garbage,
house
right?
to house. Right there.
From a density perspective, also from a law enforcement patrolling perspective, some density is good. So you're not driving, 10 miles to get to the next house, right? So cost per service wise, some of those things, density can keep it low. But what can density also do? It can create traffic issues, right? And so I think you want to, the idea is just to manage that. That's why we did our comprehensive growth plan, to really manage that. We incorporated some experts and public input. And that's why I think for the folks that live in Springfield, I mean, this was part of the growth plan, right? Is to accommodate a development in this area. And we had thousands of people that had input on that growth plan and that live in Springfield. And so we're excited about moving forward in a responsible way. And I think our board is too, and we'll have a lot of conversations and a lot of opportunity to have questions asked and answered over the next couple of months, hopefully.
Very good. And remind everybody exactly where we're talking about, just in case some people, are new and they're like, what are we? Yeah. So where exactly?
Yeah, I guess not everybody knows when I go like that,
So just kind of remind everybody
it's
where we're
right off of South Main. It's, I think a lot of people refer to it, well, again, if you haven't been here, then you wouldn't refer to it as the Fike Farm, but it's a 400 acre, and then it grew, but it's off of South Main. If you're driving down South Main, there's houses and then there's farmland, in between the houses, and it's that farmland. Those owners have looked to sell. I think they entered into a contract with these folks about 2 years ago, and there have been a lot of due diligence and engineering work and all of that. So what happened after that contract happened is other property owners that were surrounding had your idea, and they said, hey, I have an opportunity to cash in. And so they approached the developers, and that's kind of why it's taken 2 years, is because the 400 acres they initially purchased blossomed into, almost 500 or right at 500 because of other folks that came around.
Said, hey, maybe now is the time.
Said, hey, this is an opportunity for me to cash in and on my retirement. So that's why I think it took, because then they'd have to go back to the drawing board and re-engineer some things. And so that's why we haven't seen a formal proposal or formal application yet, but we expect to do that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, that's going to be interesting to watch, and I'm fascinated by it. And I know, like I said, I love this community, and I want to see it grow, but very responsibly so. And I know you've got to get going, but can I ask you one quick question? What is going in across from Lowe's? They're building, is that like a plaza?
It's Wawa.
What?
Wawa.
What is that?
The gas station.
Okay.
Wawa had initially, when they came to Springfield a couple of years ago, they were going to go in the Rite Aid building.
Okay.
Or where the Rite Aid building was.
Okay.
And then that deal fell through on the property. I think there were some issues there on the property, and the deal fell through, and so they relocated to another space on Tom Austin. So there's development right there that's going to go Wawa, and then the first phase of a shopping center development is going to go next to that.
Okay, because see, I'd heard about the shopping center development. There's a rumor that Blue Roof is going over there.
Really?
And I don't know who started that, but I've heard that. I need to go just talk to them because I'm friends with them. But I mean, I'd love to see them open back up to where you can go in and sit down, because that was always the way I would go. I'm not a takeout kind of person, but that area right there we're talking about Fortune Village, which we've known that family forever and all that, and we just love them to pieces. But I could see that getting developed, at some point. Is there some plans on that you know of?
I'll tell you what's, because
public. I mean, I know if it's not, you can't say, but I'm just curious because I've heard those rumors, and Ying would probably go, no. I don't know. So
probably a lot of rumors.
Yeah.
But the issue, the biggest issue with folks like the Royal Insight, for instance, once that came down, one of the biggest issues that has plagued that area is the fact of how close it is to the intersection.
Okay.
With no outlet on the 16th right there, because of the retaining wall, because it goes up. So you're really stuck with a right turn only, unless the Royal Insight was able to acquire where Fortune Village is and the Allegra building, and then be able to have more room to come out in a left turn, right? The issue has been there've been 1,000 people that have talked to us or looked at that site, and the issue always is, well, I can't do anything about that retaining wall, so I have no way to let my traffic out to the light. Yeah. Right. Okay. So it'd have to be right turn. They're right there at the intersection and be right turn only, and it's really not an ideal spot.
Okay.
Without an opportunity to come out farther down.
With all the property
that's there. That's the nuts and bolts. It's boring.
All of it. Okay.
I know it's probably sexier on Facebook or whatever, but
and I don't know where that even started, but we were talking about what's going in across from Lowe's, and I had heard a plaza, had not heard hadn't heard, I've never heard of that gas station, but and I'd heard a plaza, and then somebody said, well, Blue Roof's going in there, and I'm like, what? And I had never heard that. So anyway, I don't know.
I told someone at church a couple of weeks ago, because they had me. They said, "Well, I heard such and such is coming to such and such." I said, "Well, no." I said, "No, yeah, it is.
You're city manager.
It is. It sure is." I said, "Well, okay." And you just realize that sometimes you just don't argue. I said, "Well, I tell you what. You talk to whoever told you that and tell them they better contact the city to talk about a building permit.
I think that's funny when people come to you and go, no, really, Brian, it's happening. It's like,
because they saw it on Facebook.
That's
and so,
hysterical.
Yeah, it's great.
That is hysterical.
Hey, thanks for letting me come in early today. I
know you need to get going. It's about 20 till. And as Ryan's making his way out, like I said, I was messaging with Lee Marie. We've been trying to work out to where we can touch base with Rose Wooten over at the library because, I think we forget. And the reason why I really want to talk to the library, and we're going to get them in here for a full visit, we want to make sure, but I'm sorry, I'm looking at messages from Lee Marie as we're trying to figure out how we're going to, because she'll be coming in for the Go Show here in just a moment. That'll be coming up here at 8 o'clock. But as we've been talking about the library, I think what started this, I was talking with Brian Pooley last week, and we were the discussion turned to what are we going to do in regards to our tax preparedness program. And that's the VITA plan that you can go through United Way and have your taxes done completely for free. And what a great situation that is. So if you're somebody, I think the cap is in the 70s, household income. If you don't exceed, it's not $70,000. I think it's a little bit higher than that. But if your income does not exceed that, then you are eligible, what the situation is, for free tax preparedness. So where they used to facilitate that was at the central office for the school. And so now they're moving that into the library and into the space downstairs at the Y. And so as we just got to talking about the availability of the things at the Y, I thought, man, we really need to just have a new conversation about the Y and all the things that are cool there and all the things that are going on, because not only that the fact that we've got this facility that is wonderful and very helpful in regards to being able to accommodate you sometimes whenever if you have a meeting you want to have, they've got facilities like that. They have a they have, what do you call it, where notary available at the Y, or no, at the library. We actually had to have something notarized, and that's where we got it notarized. And so there's just all kinds of wonderful services there. Of course, books and all the material and the media that you want to check out, and videos and all kinds of fun things. But they've got these activity things now that I think are just the coolest. And I've talked with Jason and Caleb from Wildlife Resources about it, because they've also put in the library fishing packages where you can go and you can check out fishing rods and you can go fishing and all these fun things that you can do at the library. You can go to museums. There's all kinds of fun things that you can do if you go and check out these activity bags that they have, their activity backpacks that they have at the library. It's just the coolest stuff. If you've not been to the library lately, you need to go to the library and check it out and just see what's going on, because there's some cool stuff going on. But as I'm going to try to give a phone call here to Katie Allen in just a second, but we're gonna call her. She is the wife of Colonel Jeff Allen. We've had him in when we had him in for Veterans Day, just to talk about his service and some of the things that were going on around town. But she's got a ladies' study at Gateway Christian and is a school counselor. So we're going to reach out to her in just a second and see if we can't get her on the phone here to just kind of see what's going on with her. Before we do that, though, I'm going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards in just a moment. But I also want to remind you, if you've ever heard Steve Hemphill, he is our spiritual warfare guy. He is, if you've not seen his stuff, I can refer you to Stories of Amazing Grace that is produced out of the Madison Church of Christ by Larry Souter. Excellent program. He had a visit from Steve, and this has been many years ago. This is my first exposure to Steve, and had him come in and do a Stories of Amazing Grace and just start talking about his experiences whenever he started doing ministry, addressing the spiritual warfare that we're in. And it's breathtaking. It is amazing. And so Steve has had the opportunity. There's been several people talking to him. I mean, a lot of the things that Steve does, he has these stakes that he sells and all this kind of stuff to help fund, because he doesn't charge to come out and speak. But he has these spirit stakes that, they have Bible verses on it, and it's about staking out your property and praying over it. And people think, oh, that's just a gimmick. He didn't come up with that, y'all. That is something that somebody approached him and said, hey, can I make these for you? Because y'all been writing verses on tent stakes and putting them in the ground, just kind of as a way to say, this is a way to give to God, everything, your property, your city. I mean, just to hear his stories about they'll stake off a city and then the drop in crime, or they'll stake off of a school and the incredible spiritual things that change there because of what he's done. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. I'm not going to call their names out. We may not get Katie called, honestly, because there's several things I want to mention before we wrap it up, and we're going to be out of time here pretty quickly. But I thought this was very interesting as we get ready to have Steve on tomorrow. Some of my kiddos in my class, we were working on an audio video project. And I have this program where they can build a movie trailer. And it's just a real simple way to kind of get your feet wet with editing and seeing how things work. And so it's a simple way to kind of, let kids jump into understanding how the editing programs work. But nonetheless, so one of my AV1s that are coming in, I said, okay, I want you to put together a movie trailer. You can do anything you want. And one of the templates is for a ghost story. And anybody who knows me, I don't do ghost stories. It's demonic. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in demons. And I think if you're having any kind of a supernatural thing that you're equating to ghost, it's demonic, and you don't want to have anything to do with it, and you want to pray the blood of Jesus over it and cast it out. That's where I go with this. And a lot of that comes from working and knowing Steve for so many years now. But they were talking about the haunted stories that come out of our school, and different ones talked about, I'm one of those that I will go in there at all hours of the night, and it's kind of creepy being in a school when it's very quiet. And there was the person who had been in my classroom at one point. They said that they would come in and work all hours of the night, and they would hear dribbling basketballs down the hall. They would just hear things because they would be there at just all kinds of crazy hours. And then another one, and I don't know if I have his permission to call him out or not, but yeah, I think Luke White, he told me I could tell this. So Luke White is my mentor. He's one who helps me. He's like next door to me. We share an office. So he's been just an awesome help to me. But my dear friend and co-teacher there at Greenbrier. So he said he came in one time, and it was also kind of in the middle of the night that he had to come to school for some reason. And he was just him, and nobody was there. And this was early on. This was before he had the classroom next to me. This is when he was still a math teacher before he took over engineering. But he said that he came out of his classroom, and he walked down the hall, and he could hear water running. And he could not get into the cafeteria, but he looked in through the window, and the faucets were running. And he said, it was just the creepiest thing ever. And of course, the next day he came in and he says, what was going on with that? And they're like, there was no water running. There was no faucets running. That didn't happen. And he's like, and I said, okay, I think we need to be doing some prayer over this school. And then I said, well, actually, I do know there was a prayer walk through our school at the first of the year. So maybe that's been taken care of. But my point is, if you're not familiar with the spiritual battle that we're in, it is real, and you need to be praying over it constantly and praying the blood of Jesus over it, because we are not powerful enough to take it on ourselves. So when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, you need to be praying over it. We talk a little bit about, Adams. I love Adams. I love the community of Adams. I do not like the Bell Witch. I don't like the persona that's been built around that. I can't stand the fact that we have a witch's hat as one of our logos that we use in association with Robertson County, because I just think we're a Christian community, and I just really wish that hadn't happened. But nonetheless, it is what it is, and I wish we would take back the Bell Witch story for his historical value, and absolutely pray the blood of Jesus over that situation and stop the ghost story. I really do, and just really talk about it from the historical perspective. But again, that's my opinion. I don't live out in Adams, but for those of you who do, I do challenge you to try to find a different way to approach that, and to we very seriously need to take without any doubt the spiritual battle we're in and things like that. I just don't play with that, and so I don't know, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to get off my soapbox. But nonetheless, Steve is going to be in. That's the reason I'm mentioning this. Steve Hemphill is going to be He's going to be via phone tomorrow with us. And so we're going to have an hour-long conversation. I talked to Brian Pulley, and I said, hey, can we take your time, because this is the only day that Steve's available. So he's going to come in, and he's going to let us have that time back from United Way. So it's going to be all Steve Hemphill tomorrow. We're going to have him on a phone call because he's going to be in town on Saturday for a premiere of a show that they've done. He's had several people ask him, we want to do a pilot, a television pilot about this, because we think that, I mean, there's just story after story after story. If you go to Steve's webpage and all the things that are connected, and you just Google Steve Hemphill, spiritual warfare, you'll find them. But if there's been just so many stories, they're like, man, this would make a good television show. And so there's been some projections and proposals about whether or not they could do something. So they've put together a pilot. They're going to premiere that this weekend at Purpose Life Church on Saturday. Now, I don't have all the particulars because I wasn't prepared to sit down and talk about that right now, but I was kind of tease that and say that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So if you have some kind of spiritual warfare going on, if you have something that you think that, I really would like to talk to somebody about this, you're going to want to tune into the show tomorrow and hear what Steve has to say. Can't say enough about how that don't approach it as, oh, he's just trying to come up with a shtick and make money. No. This is Steve. He's a good friend, and Steve is one of these people that he likes to write. And when he decides he wants to write something, number one, he kind of prays for direction. Okay, what do I need to look at, Lord? And then he'll take the Bible, and then with that theme in mind, he'll go through and he'll read it, reread it, and he'll mark everything that's associated with heaven. Like he wrote a book about heaven after his daddy died. And it's a wonderful book. And then he decided to do a spiritual warfare book. So he started marking everything. And that's how he builds his content. So he didn't intend to set out and do this big program with spiritual warfare. It's just he had written a book, and he's like, hey, there's something to this. And it just, everybody says if it's from God, you can't. If it's not from God, you can't make it happen. And if it is from God, you can't stop it. And that's very much how I feel about the work that Steve Hemphill has going with spiritual warfare. It's totally from God. When he tells you the stories and the coincidences that happened in association with everything that he's doing with his spiritual warfare ministry, it's just God. Because he's just like, okay, sure, we can do that. And so it's an amazing story, and I'm quite intrigued about how they've put it together into a television package. So we'll be hearing more about that tomorrow. But before we completely run out of time, and we'll get Katie on sometime to talk about what she does. But today, like I said, trying to get her on the phone live on the air would be just a little bit difficult without having set all that up ahead of time. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to Lee Marie is here. She is getting ready for the Go Show. She'll be here in just a moment. But as she's getting ready to come on in, I want to go ahead and talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. Talking to Ryan, I said, this, brings up the real estate question. Having property in this area, oh my goodness, guys, you just have no idea of the way it's increased in value. And having ownership of property is one of the best investments you can make because God's not making any more of it. When is a good time to buy in Robertson County? Right now. Right now. Anytime is a good time. What about interest rates? No, right now. Because Barry has unpacked it for me a couple of times. He says, what happens? Interest rates will be high, and so property housing will go down. When interest rates are low, property housing goes up. It just fluctuates. You're going to pay the same, really, when it comes down to it, either in interest or in your housing price. He says it's always a good time to buy. When's a good time to buy? Right now. You don't want to put it off, especially if you've got some property you've been looking at and you're thinking, oh, I don't know if I want to buy it. Well, you better, because it may not come available again. That's the thing I think a lot of people, forget. I'm so thankful. I had so many people when we bought our property that said, oh, I didn't even know that was for sale, and they missed out on it because they didn't know it was for sale. And so you need to have, if you've got property in your area that you're interested in, I've got, Barry and Rebecca keeping an eye up at the top of the hill because I've got some kiddos that would love to build on my hill that we own the hillside right there in front of our house. Well, they would like to build up in the hill. Well, we don't have any road frontage up there. So I told them, I said, if anything ever comes available, let us know. And the kids might consider coming in and buying some property to get some road frontage up there. Well, you can talk to a realtor about those kinds of things. Maybe, you're just done and you're like, man, I'm just tired of owning this land. I need something smaller. I'm, getting older. I don't need to have this big house. I need more of a condo type thing. Rebecca's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist, so she specializes in that. And she can help you very specifically that. We always talk about the marketing background of Barry Richards. I was going to their website. If you go to Barry.realtor, that is where you'll find him. But if you go Barry Richards, you'll find his website. But if you go, it's like Barry.realtor, and that's where you'll find him. But there is a tab on his page that says all about me. He'll tell you about that marketing expertise and the fact that he can do drone footage and walkthrough tours and specializes in doing the best photography. When your pictures of your home that you're selling or your property that you're selling, people are flipping through it like they do on social media now so quickly, it's going to pop. They have on their website, too, you've got a place where you can say, start your search. Well, you can put in a zip code and say, okay, I want to live in this area. And it'll let you kind of see what's available in that area. There's all kinds of wonderful features when you just Google Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty, and you're going to get to all kinds of wonderful things. And you're going to find out they're just really nice people to work with. If you want to reach out to them, a couple of ways you can do it. You can go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy.robertsoncounty.com. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky, because like me, they're from Kentucky, so they know the Kentucky way as well. If you want to just give Rebecca a call, the number is 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425 for Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. Always please let them know that We've got Steve Hemphill coming on tomorrow. We're going to be talking on Friday with Dr. David Evans is in the house. We've got an extra Faith Friday this month as well. We're going to have one next week, so we've got 5 Fridays. So I love that, and it gives us a chance to kind of double down on the things that are going on spiritually in our community. And David, I messaged him yesterday, and I said, hey, we've been talking about having you back on. Are you available Friday? And he says, well, what do you want to talk about, Sister U-Turn? And I said, well, considering that we have a new president in office and the fact that we're just, kind of at that place, we all lean into the scripture where it says, and if my people who are called by my name will renew their faith and turn their face to God, then I'll hear their prayers. Well, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how do we do that as the church community? I mean, we've got so many amazing churches in this area. How do we do that? Because when it comes to looking for those kinds of answers, when people come and they say, what can we do to make a difference? I lean into my answer. My absolute answer to that is you change your community from the inside out. You do that by getting involved with your nonprofits that are absolutely boots on the ground, doing the work and being the hands and feet of Jesus, and you change your community from the inside out. And I could start listing all the ones off. I noticed Brian was wearing an Isaiah House bracelet. Talk a lot about Open Door. CASA. I have not had CASA in a while, and we need to talk to them. The Safe Baby Court, Recovery Court, all these things that are there that are established. And I missed a Recovery Court board meeting yesterday. I'm so sorry, girls, or my friends associated with that, because it just slipped my mind. But all these amazing programs that we have within our community that are literally changing our community from the inside out for the better. That's how you make a difference. But everybody looks to the churches and says, can you kind of help me get there? Can you kind of help me know what to do? The power in prayer, the power in knowing that we're up against a spiritual battle and knowing how to address it. It is the job of the churches to get those kinds of connections done, to get those kinds of things going. And so that's what I want to talk to David about. So Dr. David Evans will be here on Friday for our Faith Friday segment. Steve Hemphill in for the full hour tomorrow. And we'll reach out to Katie Allen at some point in the future to talk to her about her study at Gateway Christian. I'll be looking forward to that. And just all kinds of fun things that are on the horizon here at 1100 WSGI, a worldwide Christian broadcast company right here in the heart of Robertson County. We hope you'll be a part of what we're doing. I want you to stay tuned, though, because coming up next, I've got Lee Marie and The Ghost Show right here on 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a fabulous day.